And welcome back, everyone, to Weber State Esports, where we are going to have our CLoL games. So it's a little bit different than what we normally have. We usually are streaming our varsity playing, but we just got notified that the enemy team has forfeited. So we jumped in for our JV team here with Weber State Purple.
Yeah, Weber State versus University of San Diego playing today. So we aren't going to have any draft graphics at this time, but we do know what the draft is. So we've got Weber State on the red side playing Garen on the top lane, Wukong in the jungle, Seraphine in the middle lane, Corki as their AD carry, and Alistar as the support. University of San Diego will be having a Jax top lane with a Jarvan jungle and a Zir mid lane, a Nico support, and a Sivir for the AD carry.
Yeah, so it should be very interesting. And it's only for this first game because we had to swap over so quickly from the varsity to the JV team. We did miss the draft, and so we're just waiting for that initial spectator delay, and we'll jump right into this first game, and then we'll get draft for the second game, if there, and if there is a third game, for the third game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. These Weber State games, this is a CLoL game, so this is Riot's official collegiate league. This is a fearless draft game, so the champions that we or fearless draft series is what I should say. So the champions we see in this game will not be present for the second or possible third games if they do happen.
Yep, and I believe we just got the signal that we are ready to load here onto the Rift and see how things go. We do see that the University of San Diego has chosen the blue side with Weber on red. We have hopefully some members of the Weber State team that you're going to start to get familiar with as we sponsor more of our JV teams. We have Eros, our top laner, Gloom Grove, who you've probably seen as was the ADC for varsity for a little bit, as our jungler. It's a Fushi in the mid lane with Zilla and Skywalker in the bot lane.
And on University of San Diego, we've got, well, I'm not even going to attempt to say the top laner's name because it is in kanji, I believe, but we have a kanji top laner. We have Doragon in the jungle. We've got Sai Steven as a mid lane. We got Payful as their AD carry, and then B Badu B as the support.
Fun names. And we will do our best to shout out players as it happens, but sometimes we just simply will reference the champions as Zilla and Skywalker going for the cheeky little wraparound now behind the enemy team. Gonna probably go for this knockup here as a flash burnt, not a flash yet, but Bidabubi in a really difficult situation as Zilla going to get this first kill. They're going to try to look for another kill as Zilla just pumping out this damage with the Gatling gun. Now Skywalker going to be here in a little bit of trouble possibly. In the top lane, though, another fight went off as Eros looks like he got level 2 early, and Ignite for Ignite, Lethal Tempo versus Conqueror. Conqueror's going to win those early trades.
Yeah, interesting trade in the bot lane. Zilla actually burned his flash to regain vision into the bush when the Nico stepped back into the bush. Alistar dropped the ward anyways, but that flash was used pretty early. It did allow him to get an extra hit down, which did get that kill secured. An uneven trade of summoner spells in this bot lane, even though they do get the first kill. Corki is a little bit behind in experience and gold because of it.
Yeah, but with that first blood gold, he did go ahead and get a cull, which will help him catch up in that gold eventually.
Yeah, I think a Cole is a good buy, especially if you have a rough start for this early game. Corki doesn't need like necessarily a ton of items to be able to pop off in the mid game. He just kind of needs that Trinity Force. So the Cole should be able to help him accelerate into more of his late game buys, and I think a good pickup.
Now, you mentioned the Trinity Force on Corki, but I've actually seen some people mention that they've enjoyed going the Essence Reaver and back into a more crit-focused Corki. Especially with the Sheen now being on Essence Reaver again, you're not going to run out of mana, you can pump out those rockets, and Corki likes his abilities.
Yeah, there are definitely two different build paths there. There's the Essence Reaver crit build. I think the disadvantage to that is you have a little bit less spell damage because you're less likely to build the Mana Mune on on that version of Corki, but it does lose a little bit there. So Gloomgrove diving in to fight this Jarvan here. It looks like the Jarvan did get the Scuttle Crab. He did indeed. So Gloomgrove a little bit behind here, as both junglers are probably going to race down into this bottom side jungle for the Scuttle Crab. Actually, looks like a gank on the mid lane with Gloomgrove.
Yeah, it almost goes good as Gloomgrove gonna flash in with the Warrior Trickster to get the extra kill. Gloomgrove the shielding from Seraphine actually doing a lot. A flash out from Jarvan. Itsufushi gonna try to run him down and do what he can. Might end up having to simply take what he can and walk away. A really good flash forward. Gonna maybe get the kill, and the double buff transfer for Itsufushi going very well. Trade for trade, but now Itsufushi having to run away as the Azir has teleported back and will be running for them. A good slow, but it looks like it's probably just going to be another buff transfer back over as they are just peppering with autos. Itsufushi running for his life. The flash is going to be spent by the Azir to secure the kill. But once again, in the top lane, Eros diving the Jax. What a game. Holy moly.
Yeah, we see even trades basically across the map. That double buff, of course, going back to the Azir does give a good advantage for that mid lane. However, in this top lane, Eros is definitely taking quite a lead with quite a bit of CS. There's a fight down in the bottom lane as we do see a gank on Weber State side. Zilla does try and back up though, however, because he is slowed. The Alistar stun does come through. He does sidestep it. However, the Sivir does gain vision of him as she steps in the bush, and she does have that barrier available, so she is able to get that kill. Alistar will secure the kill back onto her. Luckily, no other kills going down for or against UC San Diego as their jungler does show up.
Yeah, just crazy aggression and no complaints about it. It's very fun to see these aggressive games where action's happening. Makes it a little bit hard to speak sometimes because we're bouncing between lane and don't have time to reset, but I do enjoy the things we have as 6 is hit first for the Azir, which will lead to Itsufushi getting killed. The double buffs meaning a lot for this Azir.
Yeah, Azir getting ahead early is quite a good thing for UC San Diego because he usually takes two items to pop off. As we see Eros trying to get another kill in the top lane, he does as the Ignite does tick off. Eros up 3-0, a very good advantage here for Weber State. We'll have to see if having a Garen ahead in the game is a better advantage than having an Azir ahead. Azir does have a lot of potential to be able to carry these games thanks to his crowd control and his ulti and his ability to space out people as well.
Zilla being a little bit funny with some quirky butt wagging there as he will get caught by the root. A lot of damage going down and not exactly what you want to see, but eventually with the Alistar passive should be able to heal up some of that damage he has taken as he just continues to take a little bit more. It's a very aggressive bot lane that San Diego has put in here.
Yeah, very aggressive indeed. The Alistar is kind of hard to play into some of these range champions, so they have a lot of disadvantages. So that being said, it's great to see that Zilla has been able to stay even in the CS. That'll be a big boon for him as the game goes on. I think Weber State in this bot lane just needs to survive, and then they can get to that quirky damage and be able to have some mid-game fights that will go their way.
Yeah, we can see the gold graph here as Eros is just dominating in the top lane, up in CS, up in kills, up in tower plates, up 2 levels, now 1 level. So that was the big thing that happened that got him that 3rd kill, is he hit 6 before Jax did, so Jax couldn't even use the Grandmaster's Might, but Garen's ultimate, I can't remember the name of it. All I know is every time he does it, you scream Demacia in your head.
We can just call it Demacia for now, as that lane pushing back into the Garen, definitely not what a Jax wants to see. He almost might want to try and trade his life for getting the lane into tower. He's going to lose a lot of resources here, as we do see a gank here in the mid lane. It looks like there might have been a 1v1 between either mid laners. However, the Jarvan was able to come in and help secure that kill for the Azir.
Yeah, and just going to keep getting ahead here. Itsufushi kind of finding these engagements, but it's not going the way he wants them to. Really close still, even though he was down at the time a kill and a lot of farm. Zilla, though, getting caught by the Nico is not what they want to see. But the Nico going too far forward will end up getting caught by the Cyclone. Now Sivir, in a bit of a pickle here, will use the spell shield, but the barrier has already been used earlier to get the kill onto Zilla, so Zilla's barrier comes down, saving him, and that is a 2-for-0 kill for Weber State in the bot lane, really getting Gloomgrove ahead and giving Zilla some time to breathe and farm.
Yeah, that's a great turn of events for Weber State's jungle and bot lane. And of course, it allows them to be able to secure this dragon as UC San Diego just doesn't have enough pressure. The Azir was kind of on a back timer. And then, of course, having two members dead does not help with that advantage. We see it as this Garen is just able to freeze this lane. His CS advantage has just climbed to more than double, which is quite the feat, and it's definitely going to be a very hard game for this Jax to be able to interact with. We see him walking over to try and help with these grubbies. Weber State not really in position to challenge these. There should be 3 grubs going over to UC San Diego.
Yeah, and Weber's probably aware of this, as Itsufushi, once again, walking too far forward, getting caught by a Shreeman Shuffle, does hold on to the flash as he knows he's dead no matter what. Gonna be a little bit rough for him to catch up, but we have seen in the past that he does like these more scaly, supporty mid laners. He's not very much that carry, I will do everything. He hits one really good encore in a team fight later, and Gloomgrove and Zilla will take care of the rest, along with Eros. As another engage coming in, the Pop Blossom going to be used, but Zilla will be able to flash out as Skywalker has used the Unstoppable Might, will get a really good hit onto the Nico, but has to be careful here as the Sivir now has the barrier back up. Skywalker doing everything he can to at least try and trade away. Gonna auto and auto. The root from Nico missing, so that will secure a kill for Skywalker, but the Azir coming down will go ahead and collect the kill onto him for free. Itsufushi gonna just try to do what he can to push in the mid wave.
Yeah, really unfortunate spacing there from the Weber State bot lane. The Corki was just out of range from being able to get enough damage down onto that opposing Nico. This trade of ults and the Nico trying to space back onto him to force the flash was a very good play, and it does allow UC San Diego to come out with a slight advantage there. As we see Gloomgrove coming here to gank this Jax, he does have the ultimate that he's going to use. Jax does get a very good stun, however, back onto the Garen, and that shuts down this gank. So we have an ult traded for another back on the Jax. It's just going to put this Jax really far behind here in this top lane.
And that's just kind of what they want to do. Zilla trying to find the Azir will end up getting taken down as Azir will flash past the rocket that would have definitely secured the damage he needs to kill him. The Azir really putting on a really good show as Gloomgrove actually just saying, you know what, I can't help my bot lane right now, but what I can do is get Eros even further ahead. The Counter-Strike coming down will be a lot of damage coming in, but that flash coming in too late, the Demacian Justice, or whatever his ult's called, coming down already will secure that Jax's fate, and it's just not good for Jax.
Yeah, a rough lane up there for sure. The Azir had a really nice flash over the Corki rocket. Corki might have had enough damage to be able to kill him there if he didn't do that. And like you said, Azir really putting on a show. He's now at 6-1, which is a great advantage for him to be in. He does have his Nashor's Tooth already finished, and he's on his way to his second item, which will be a huge spike for him.
Yeah, Skywalker down here taking quite a bit of damage. They do know that Jarvan is here, so they will back up. Probably just going to try to farm a little bit under tower, try to avoid a gank coming in.
Yeah, as a update for the viewers, the Garen ultimate is Demacian Justice.
So I was correct in saying that. I'm surprised at myself sometimes.
There we go. Some of those ults with the meme culture behind them, we just don't even know what the ability or the ult is actually called. Here we kind of have a little bit of stability for the game. We see this Garen up 3 levels in this top lane. But if you do look at the total team gold advantage, really there's only 1,000 gold in favor of Weber State here. Now, the XP advantage is a little bit of a different story for this Garen versus the Jax. But 1,000 gold is not really a ton at the end of the day when it comes to a lot of these team fights and where it goes. We see another tower dive coming in from Gloomgrove and Eros onto the Jax. They're able to successfully pull it off. Garen's just going to keep chipping away at this tower. And I think it should be a first blood tower here for Weber State. As we see the Azir once again going in for a Shreeman Shuffle. Seraphine not really having a lot of answers to that other than having her flash. He just opts to, once again, not use the flash. I think perhaps saving it for when there is a team fight, when he can use the flash to get an important ulti down onto a key member of UC San Diego, such as that Azir. So I think overall a good choice, as Seraphine's not really worth that much gold on a kill anymore. It's just really what resources she'll be missing out from being dead.
Yeah, as Weber probably going to look to maybe do some lane shifting here. I maybe put the. Well, actually, I don't even know if they're going to do any lane shifting yet, as the only person that's completed their quest is Eros, and that's, again, why he has so much XP on top of this Jax. The 3 levels is because of stereotypical lane quest, top lane shenanigans, as Azir has finished his quest, so it's couple quests for couple quests. Now, the mid lane actually going over to Eros, he is going to get a bit more, and they're just going to say, you know what, it's a Fushi, you'll get your quest eventually. Let's get Garen towards the mid lane where he can actually start to maybe influence the map. He can flash onto Azir and kill him before the silence goes off.
Yeah, and kind of another key point is that the Seraphine does have her TP. Garen also did have his TP, but it allows Weaver State to really play for this dragon by having their strong members of their team there just as an immediate threat, and Seraphine could TP in with the ult if she needed to. But a good rotate from Weaver State. They now have 2 dragons up to the 0 of UC San Diego, so that can be a good late game win con for them, and it's great to once again keep these scaling things away from the Azir and the Sivir and the Jax, who do very well the longer the game goes on.
Well, and one of the things is that Garen actually will lane pretty well into the Azir. Azir's going to pump out as much damage as he can. Garen just walks back and passives it all back.
We see a gold graph here now for comparing each lane. We see in the top lane, the Jax has 3,300 total gold, where the Garen's nearly at 7,000. So that's quite the gold differential, and you can see it in this fight as the Garen literally can just run at the Jax and kill him. We do have a similar, though, gold difference in the mid lane with the Azir up at 7,400 gold. As we haven't engaged, we see a Nico ult burned onto the Seraphine. Nico running in, not able to get the kill. However, Alistar just here to provide backup as a Wukong does jump in. Nico flashes away, is able to get out of there. Alistar failing the combo on the Azir, unfortunately, as Eros does go down. That's a huge shutdown being given over to the Sivir. That is not what Weaver State wants to see. That's neutralizing a lot of their gold advantage. Gloomgrove perhaps getting a little bit too excited here. It needs to ult to disengage as the Azir does stream and shuffle the Alistar over the entire wall. However, another big shutdown from the Azir going back over to the Corki. Weaver State here at a health disadvantage, but it is a 3v3 as they are trying to kite off this UC San Diego team. Wukong pulling some monkey business as he jumps back over the wall invisible and is able to finish off another member of UC San Diego. Weaver State actually managing to turn this around and to take a kill advantage from all of these trades.
Yeah, Zillow was left mostly untouched there, as he did have to pop his barrier, but he has gone ahead and gone with the Trinity Force build into the Manamune, so his abilities will do a lot. His autos are still going to hurt a lot, but he has been able to free farm pretty well, get a lot of damage, get a lot of gold back, and Sivir ends up going down there, which is a huge benefit for them. As I feel bad. Weaver's dive composition is actually really good. Arrow's going to go ahead and flash, get some more damage, and bring justice to the Emperor of Shurima.
Yeah, a good play from Weaver State to wrap on this Azir and try and shut down some of his resources. It also means that Garen's just going to be able to collect more gold as he is taking this bottom lane tower as well. Looks like our support from Weaver State caught out here trying to get some wards down. Luckily, he is an Alistar. He does have the crowd control to be able to walk away, but it could have been a little bit more sketchy for him. We see this Garen chasing down a Nico now. Nico with just enough tricks to get away. However, we see this gold advantage is now 4,000 in Weaver State's favor from being able to out-rotate UC San Diego a little bit on these rotations. Jarvan does flag and drag in, trying to get that Alistar. He burned his flash for it, but he doesn't quite have the follow-up for it. Corki is showing a lot of that damage from that Triforce, as Seraphine does come in for him support as well. UC San Diego kind of running away here on the tail end. Weaver State has now taken every outer turret, and they have a great position to set up now for this Rift Herald.
Yeah, they were very much playing a very good game of cat and mouse around this Rift Herald. They'd go in, Skywalker just being very annoying, saying, oh, are you going to guarantee, are you going to get it, or are you going to get the kill on me? And in the end, Jarvan decides to peel off and misses the flag and drag because of the flash, which leads to Weaver State collecting this Rift Herald. Now, once again, Nico has to be a little bit careful here. Things swinging back and forth a lot, but Weaver now pulling out a very, good demanding 4,000 gold lead.
Yeah, very good from them. And they do also have this additional resource is now the next dragon. We have a mountain soul coming up, or not, it's not the soul yet, but it will be a mountain soul. We do have the third potential dragon for Weber State coming up here in just under a minute. And now they have this Rift Herald that they could use to their advantage for this fight, either in pressuring a different lane or even using it as a famously combat Rift Herald in the middle.
I think it would be interesting if they tried to crack the middle turret, but you can also wait a little bit, see where things are going, and then drop it somewhere else. Will be interesting to see what Weaver decides to do. As coming down here a little bit, Skywalker getting a little bit poked out. Zilla gonna go ahead and have to Valkyrie out, but Gloomgrove is here, has that threat of a Cyclone with Eros on the bot side as well. San Diego has to play this really smart and really carefully.
And now, importantly, Azir is on 2 completed items. He went for that Rylai's as his second item, so he is fairly tanky. He'll be a little bit more difficult to take down in this team fight, but he should be able to offer a lot of fuel for the team, as we do see Weber State engaging here. They have the Wukong engage, followed by the Alistar and the Seraphine on the back end. They are able to eliminate this Jarvan, and Gloomglove just needs to stay alive so Weber can maintain their jungler advantage, which he very well does. The Jack's still trying to chase him down for a kill. Azir not quite able to have the impact in this team fight. He still does have his Shreem and Shuffle up, but now he's one Azir into 5 members of Weber State Esports as he does get Dovin on, and Weber State comes out of this fight with a 5-man kill. They're going to be able to push down in this mid lane and perhaps take this dragon even.
Yeah, the turret juggling to get the kill onto the Azir was so well. Skywalker tanks first, pops the Unbreakable Will, and it able to get out. It's Afushi surviving with 1 HP basically after that tower shot takes him down. Very well played, very aggressive team fight from Weaver there.
Yeah, it was a well done indeed. I think I would have liked to see them use that Rift Herald there, and I think they could have split objectives and been able to take an inhibitor turret and push along. Arrow's getting caught out here as the Jarvan Cataclysm does keep him in the area of the tower, so he does take a lot of damage, and he unfortunately goes down. But I think Weber State could have gotten away with a little bit more resources if they had a few members stay mid, drop the Rift Herald and take that inhib turret, and then someone else go and take the dragon on the back end. However, they still do have a 7,000 gold lead from these series of events, and most importantly, they're now on soul point, so the next dragon they take will get them a mountain soul, which will make it extremely hard for these members of UC San Diego to be able to take down Weber State.
Yeah, as Azir gonna go over the wall here, trying to catch out Skywalker, and now a lot of damage coming in from Zilla back and forth. You saw some pings from Weaver State onto the topside turret. Maybe they want to use Rift Herald to take that down. You do see Itzafushi in the bot lane. He has his teleport up and ready. Probably going to try to do this split pushing back and forth. Get as much pressure, draw some people to him, teleport to the Baron play, maybe drop Baron top lane. This Gloomgrove once again going to come in here, going to use the Cyclone to counteract the counter strike. They're going to just simply say Cyclone is worth the kill onto the Jax. Now they are a member down. It's Afushi has to push. They're going to have to send someone to deal with him, and once they do, we drop Rift Herald top lane and take not only top lane tower but bot lane tower, and then have pressure on this Baron.
Yeah, it's a great kill and a great decision to drop those resources onto Weber State. As we see Arrows taking down this Jarvan, however, he is caught out again. Luckily, he keeps trading kind of kills, so he's not giving over any bounties, even though he is quite strong, being at 3 items on this Garen. We see some drifting very nicely here from Gloomgrove as they are able to get down to this bottom side inhibitor. They're able to take this pressure now and translate it across the map. Weber State still pulling out here as they've got a 9,000 gold lead advantage and some extra members on the map. Overall, they're doing a very good job of rotating here and using their resources appropriately. We see Nico getting jumped on. She does use the Pop Blossom in response, but Gloomgrove just able to jump out thanks to the plant in the jungle here. It's Afushi just narrowly dodging some crowd control, as well as Weber State kind of getting out scot-free.
You know, I always find it funny when like Nikos and Wukongs are in the same game, because all of a sudden it goes from a 5v5 to a 6v6.
Yeah, lots of clones, lots of trying to track where people are. I think Nico, known as being a caster's worst nightmare, is you never quite know where she is, and it can make some plays look pretty weird, but it can be just a difficult time sometimes.
As things coming down, A little bit. I'm not expecting them to stay that way. Probably within the next 15, 20 seconds, more damage, more chaos, more good things coming out as a possible death ward. I was going to say a death bush coming in here, but the Nico clone used wisely as a scouting tool.
Yeah, now Weber State has the option here to try and attempt this Baron, and UC San Diego very well aware of that. They're keeping a lot of their members here up on this top side. If Weber State does try and start the Baron, it does have, we get a Shuriman Shuffle here from the UC San Diego mid laner, followed by the Pop Blossom. That is an absolute annihilation of Weber State esports members, as we see a bunch of them going down. We're missing out on our Corki and our mid laner, as well as the support now. The Garen and the Wukong attempting to jump in and see what damage they can do. They do eliminate the Sivir, so now it's just the jungler versus this Azir. Unfortunately, the Azir does go down as well. Now Gloomgrove trying to fight off a Jax. That is a huge shutdown going down. Gloomgrove did have the maximum bounty that he could carry. A nice snap engage from UC San Diego to be able to recognize where Weber State esports members were and take advantage of that weakness.
Yeah, it was a quick 5v3, and it's a Fushi and Zilla just went down so quickly. Very good on the half of Eros and Gloomgrove to clean up kills on the back end, but will be a decent ace for the side of San Diego, as they're not going to get as much as they want out of this. Skywalker could be finding the Nico, but just not there quite quick enough. Jack's going to also get out of the way and not going to be able to find what he wishes he could.
Yeah, that gold lead we do see was cut pretty much in half, as it was nearly a 10,000 gold lead, and now we're just about 4,000 or 5,000. So UC San Diego not able to pull really any objectives other than getting some plating off of that mid tower. But overall, a good play from them to be able to really reasonably be back in this game. Fighting these dragons at a 5,000 gold disadvantage or 4,000 gold disadvantage is a lot easier than a 10,000 gold one.
Yeah, as they are currently as a 5-man, Itzafushi might be getting caught out here, but Jarvan does actually have the Cataclysm back, as Weaver needs to figure out what they want to do. But Eros, I'm going to say, you know what, we can give up a dragon. I'm going to take their base.
Yeah, an interesting call here from Eros, opting to give up the soul, as we see the Nico going in and stalling, able to kill Itzafushi. Weber State still trying to get in some kills here. Gloomgrove does trade back onto the Nico. However, the Corki does go down to the Azir and the Alistar as well. So really a 4-for-1 trade for Weber State, but they may get 2 inhibitors here. Arrow's trying to take it. However, this Azir does have that empowered recall thanks to his new mid lane quest. Arrows is going to be able to trade out for this 2 inhibitors. However, it does mean that the Baron may go over now to UC San Diego, as they do have that extra pressure. They don't necessarily have the fastest Baron clear, but it should be faster than Weber State's respawn timers. So a good play from them to be able to recognize, hey, our inhibitor is already gone. Let's just rotate over and take this next objective.
Importantly, though, Gloomgrove did get the smite onto Dragon and collect soul for Weber. So that is really big. Yes, Baron goes down. It is not what they want, but this Garen is just getting so much further ahead. And he now only has to really think about maybe top lane, get another inhibitor, counter push. He just needs to not get collapsed on.
Yeah, very good call out that Dragon Soul did go over to Weber State, so that is a big boon from them. That also does mean that we will see an Elder Dragon here in just under 5 minutes. So if Weber State not able to pull off some pressure, which it is very hard to push into a team that does have a Baron buff, then that will probably be the next objective for them to play around. We see this gold difference is really only 2,000, as it looks like the Jax may be once again caught out here in the top lane. Garen going in on him. He does manage to get the ult off. Azir does respond with the ult. A great Pop Blossom from the Nico does catch 2 members of Weber State Esports out. However, their carries on the back lane do just have the damage to maintain. Now, 4 members of UC San Diego down. It is just a Jarvan left here, and it looks like Weber State may have enough pressure and enough minions to be able to push in this game.
Yeah, pushing in against a Baron push is something that's always crazy. You don't see it very often, but just the state of the map allowed Weber to do it. And I wanted to make mention is that we've seen the snap engages that San Diego had, the damage they were able to push out, but it just didn't matter once that Dragon Soul shield came up. Just so much defensive stats meant that the Pop Blossom Stream and Shuffle was not enough to do the same thing it did literally 3 minutes ago. and that will be game 1 for Weber State. We hope to see you here soon for game 2. All right, everyone. Thank you for waiting there. We had some funny little issues in the break with our mic not coming back on. That's why you saw the timer jump back up randomly. So thank you for bearing with us. We are now going into game two of Weber State versus the University of California, San Diego, where it is a fearless game. San Diego has decided they are going to be on the blue side. And as you can see, these are the champions for fearless that will not be played again after Weber State took game one.
UC San Diego choosing to ban Ash first. Weber State responding with a Dr. Mundo ban. A very good ban. He does have a lot of flexibility with playing in the top or the jungle. UC San Diego respecting a Riven ban, which is probably player specific. I'm assuming a member of Weber State is a very good Riven. Weber State again responding with a Swain, player specific probably. We don't see Swain a lot in the normal professional play, but he can be quite a strong character if someone has a lot of experience on him.
That is the fun thing about JV is that you see a lot more interesting bands, more targeted. I would say that Riven is definitely against Arrow, seeing how he really liked that Garen wouldn't surprise me. But Lucian and Ambessa gonna be banned away as well, which are some typical bans that you would see in more professional play. Ambessa can be very good in the right hands, as what will San Diego decide to pick first, as they have chosen? Looks
And
like a good old classic Jin Zhao.
yeah, a good solid pick from University of San Diego. He has a really low win rate right now if you look at solo queue rates. However, he is a very good team player. He has fantastic team fights, lots of survivability, and pretty consistent crowd control with his knockup. So he's a good pick when you have the coordination and a team to play around.
The funny thing about you saying he has a low win rate in solo queue is I wanted to simply say that's because his pick rate is insane. He has so many games that when you are one of the most picked champions, you're gonna probably have a decently low / high win rate. It's really weird because he's loved in solo queue. As Volibear gonna get picked up with a Yunara. Now the question, Volibear jungle or Volibear top? I'm more thinking this is a Volibear jungle. Just please, Gloomgrove, don't go Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, it might be interesting to see. They did pick this last week into the jungle, and it was a solid pick. Yunara, a great late game carry. It should be a solid choice for Weber State here. UC San Diego choosing to go with the Rakan. Rakan has a very good engage. So between the Xin Zhao and the Rakan, they have a lot of great frontline option to be able to get into a Weber State backline. So I'd expect to see more go in potential from them. Is that it is followed up with a Caitlyn. Caitlyn, a very good lane bully here into Yunara.
Okay, now I don't know if Skywalker plays it, but it is screaming at me right now. Please go Poppy support.
Poppy support would be a great option. We have 3 dashes here so far from the University of San Diego team. So Poppy would shut down a lot. She'd be great pick into Caitlyn. However, Renata or Karma, we have a Karma. Karma is a good choice for getting some of that poke off and being able to trade back into UC San Diego or being able to shield from Caitlyn damage. So it should be a pretty good lane here.
Also kind of helps with Yunara where you can give her that big shield and movement speed so Yunara doesn't have to pop her ult to get the dash. As really taking out top laners here from the side is Weber saying, you know what? It was really nice when Arrow stomped on your top laner. Let's make sure he does it again.
Yeah, an Aatrox ban coming out here from Weber State it seems like it's shutting down a champion pool. We see a Fiora ban here from UC San Diego, really respecting Eros' ability to carry in this top lane with some of his favorite champions. Weber State then responding here with an Orianna pick. Orianna kind of falls into that very solid team fight champion. And we did see the University of San Diego has some pretty good team fighting abilities, so being able to ban that away is a good choice.
Yeah, I was gonna say with a Xin Zhao and Rakan, you know San Diego's go button is so strong that if they had the Orianna, it would just be such a really good wombo combo. Camille gonna get banned away as well. I don't remember the last time I saw this many top laners banned.
Yeah, definitely UC San Diego trying to protect their top laner. That was a big hole that bled from them last game. If they didn't have that top lane hole, it would have been a very tight game and they would have had a lot of advantages. Lux being picked here from Weber State, so this is maybe a Lux mid lane, although I wouldn't be surprised if Weber State flexed the Karma mid lane. They have been known to take some crazy picks, but Lux is a very safe laner and should be able to stabilize against UC San Diego. It is a blind pick though, so it is a little rough.
And it is into Syndra, so Lux will have to be playing safe, but I'm pretty positive that this is a mid lane Lux for Itsufushi. He's done it before last week when we highlighted not last Thursday, but the week before when we highlighted purple. Itsufushi played it in game two and had a little bit of a rough early game, but his late game final sparks were game defining.
Yeah, very true. Lux does have a lot of late game damage. We see a Renekton here locked in from UC San Diego. Renekton, a solid top laner. He doesn't have very many counter picks. However, well, and it just kind of depends on what Weber State picks here, but a good choice from them so far.
Yeah, another good frontliner that can go in when San Diego wants to. Weber's response, though, ooh, maybe channeling their inner Batao here is Arrows going with a Gnar.
Yeah, Gnar, honestly, when I think of Renekton counters, the first one that comes to mind is Gnar. Gnar has enough range and mobility to be able to stay away from Renekton gap closing and getting a W on him. And then he also does have the damage to pressure the opposing laner and be able to take him down potentially. Gnar, however, does not have maybe as much hyper carry potential as some of these other picks that Eros does like to play, but he should be a very good laner, and if he can pull off a dominant performance up here, it will turn out pretty well for Weber State.
Guys, I don't know why I didn't say it before, but obviously this is a Gnar jungle with Volibear top. Come on, that's the way things are gonna go. It's a Lux Karma bot lane with a Yunara mid. Come on, obviously it's this way. All jokes aside, these are some pretty interesting team comps coming out. Will be fun to see how these play.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. I'm just picturing how hard it would be to play a Gnar jungle now with trying to manage the rage bar and running into lanes. But definitely a champion I don't know if we'd ever see in the jungle due to some of those restrictions. But that would be funny. I wouldn't put it past Weber State. Here we should be getting into game two of Weber State versus UC San Diego.
All right, as we load onto the Rift, we can see how things actually panned out, and they're exactly as we thought they would be. Some really fun color scheming going on here from Weaver as they are all purple. That is extremely fun. We have Thousand Pierced Bear with its base purple. We have Dino Gnar with the purple chroma. Star Destroyer Luck. I can't remember her. Star Empress or something. The Dark Star Lux. I can't remember the skin's name at this point, but we also have a really fun Dark Star Karma with the Spirit Blossom Yunara.
Yeah, very on theme is it does look like Eros and this Renekton are fighting up here in this top lane already. Renekton does have the Conqueror. He did get it popped for a second, but now here's where it becomes scary for him as the Gnar does have this chase down. He does have fleet footwork, so able to just space out from this Renekton. Oh, Renekton did go for an E-start. He fails the E-dash away though, so Eros does have a little bit of chase down. I don't know what ability Eros started with. We haven't seen him throw any yet. If he would have had a boomerang there, I think he would have been able to kill him.
I believe he did go his boomerang. It's hard to see in this skin, so you saw it right there get thrown out. And it is a cheeky little thing that I have seen Renektons do early, and you see it's actually playing out here quite well as Flash is burnt. Sorry, not a single flash burnt from Eros in response to the Ignite. The double dash just so threatening when you can't jump away as the Gnar, as he will have to back early and teleport.
Yeah, Eros luckily opting for teleport this game versus taking the Ignite like he did last game. The opposing top laner from UC San Diego did use that Ignite, and it does get him some advantage here. However, Eros doesn't miss out on a ton of minion XP. He'll have a little bit of a disadvantage here, but it should be something he can make up if he plays it right.
Things being pretty calm. Mid lane, Itsufushi looks like got poked out a little bit. Kind of expected with Syndra early. The Dark Spears into the push being a lot. Lux needs all three abilities before she can really do too much and needs at least one item to start clearing waves. But Gloomgrove just on a devastating path through the jungle. Going to be chomping down on some Crag Wolves. Doing what he can. Going to say hi to Mr. Blue Buff and buy as quick as he can.
Yeah, a pretty, honestly, stable game here compared to what we saw in the previous versions. We'll see what happens when these junglers do get out of their first clear. We see Xin Zhao on the top side clearing for this Renekton, and once again trying to give support here and make sure that Eros can't run away with the game like he did last time. With Weaver Stage jungler now clearing towards this bot lane, and the bot lane is actually pushed in, so it might be a decent gank timer for him.
Yeah, I will say that the lanes being pretty calm, as actually I was going to say this, it looks like Eros going a little bit too far forward. Renekton able to find the timing on when he was returning to mini Gnar form and get the kill down.
Yeah, a great play from this UC San Diego top laner to kill the Gnar. Gnar going down early makes this lane significantly harder. He really needs to try and take and carry advantage through the lane. If he falls behind, it can be quite painful for him in a difficult lane to pull back from, as we see him picking up that cloth armor and a refillable potion to hopefully help him stabilize.
I will say one thing, Gloomgrove. It's great. You're a great jungle, but why the bear? Why must you go the lethal tempo? This build frustrates me sometimes. It's great if you can catch someone out in a 1v1, that you just instantly burst them and kill them really quick. But you're so squishy. And I feel like Weber State needs a designated tank, because Gnar's only tanky half the time.
Yeah, Weaver State definitely will be playing around certain timings. Some of those are easier to control. Some of them are the Gnar Rage Bar. We'll have to see how Eros can manage that, as he does get a wave pushed back into the top lane. But this Renekton, once again, just really trying to push him down. He does miss that boomerang, which is a really significant cooldown for Eros. Not having the boomerang available does make it rough. However, he does get the chance to shove this lane in. I think he's trying to, no, I was wondering if he was going to dare walk up to try and hit the plating. A good call from him to not. We see a roam from the UC San Diego support into the mid lane. However, Itsufushi playing very respectfully and does not get hit by it.
Yeah, I will say one of the nice things about this Renekton and Gnar matchup is that both their dashes are pretty much the exact same timing. So that's one of the most frustrating things about it for the Renekton is you dash in, Gnar hops away.
Yeah, very true. It's definitely makes the matchup frustrating for the Renekton here. I'd almost wonder if it'd be worth scaling a point or two into the dash to try and throw it off, but I don't think it would be worth losing some of that potential damage just to try and catch up.
I mean, a lot of Renektons actually nowadays will do a cheeky little, as we'll talk about this later, as a gank into the mid lane goes down, Itsufushi will fall to the gank. Gloomgrove not quite there in time to do what is needed. The early pressure from the Rakan being enough to cause some discord for him.
Yeah, a good timer from UC San Diego to be able to catch that out as we see Renekton level 6 going on to Eros. If he's able to push this wave, and I believe that with his ultimate he can tower dive. He doesn't quite have support from his jungler, but it looks like he doesn't want to push his luck. He's not going to go for it. It's kind of one of those things where you could flip the game. Gnar did have a decent amount of Gnar bar. There's still a chance that he could have killed him before it was able to fully charge up and he would be able to come out. But a good trade from him still, putting a lot of pressure there. We see Weber State going aggressive. Zilla running forward onto UC San Diego's bot lane as they have a lot of damage down on this Rakan. Rakan forced to flash. Zilla trying to follow it up. However, this Caitlyn still just throwing damage back down. Karma is able to provide a lot of support here and keeps the gap closed as Weber State puts a lot of pain down, and they do take out, or they don't kill anybody, but they trade a lot of resources and they're able to get a lot of farm.
Yeah, things have come down here a little bit. Actually, never mind. Lux is coming down. Payful might be in a little bit of a pickle as the looks like a dive is on its way with Itsufushi coming here. Final Spark not quite up, but with it being as annoying as possible, throwing out spells. Now, Rakan is here to stop Itsufushi from doing much more. The Final Spark will go wide. Zilla not going to get anything out as... yeah, just Weber State not able to collect what they want.
Yeah, a lot of missed skill shots there from Weber State. They kind of had the timing off. They played their hand a little bit too forward there, as now we see they did secure the dragon, but Volibear forced to flash away from the Syndra. A little bit just of a misplay there. I think if Weber State had a few more skill shots land, or they had the timing a little bit better, they would have had a kill there. But that Rakan returning the lane with the home guards was just fast enough to be able to save the Caitlyn.
And also something I didn't notice until we're just now looking at names. This is not Skywalker on the Karma. It is another support. I believe that JV Purple has 2 players that play support and they'll swap in and out. So this is Arishi Stormblade on the Karma.
Yeah, they did do a swap there, which seems to be working out for them still. Both players pretty proficient, and it does allow for a champion pool to be, or their champion pools to be a little bit more diverse And it's nice to see Weber State playing around that and using their resources.
Things calming down here a little bit. It's a Fushi having a little bit of a rough time here in the mid lane, but using their auto attack to clear waves, and by auto attack I mean the final spark ultimate.
Yeah, that Lux ability, very good for helping to clear the waves. Getting a little bit of poke down on the Syndra. Syndra doesn't have an ult, is really just here to try and clean up a few more of these minions, but she does miss the cannon, unfortunately. She gets, oh, some of the minions. Kind of a rough lane, although she is quite a bit ahead in CS thanks to some of those early ganks and pressure. So Syndra doing very well in this lane, able to get her first mana item and should be able to stabilize in this lane and have a lot of pressure on this Lux.
Eros has gone ahead and rushed the Ninja Tabis. Very smart from him to know, hey, Renekton autos me. If I have armor boots, he's going to do less damage. Very wise, very good here. As a play, once again, it was first dragon for Weber for the Grubs by San Diego first game. It's going to be that way once again here. Itsufushi maybe going to try to do something funny, try to steal something away, and unfortunately the positioning just not right where it needs to be. Will be annoying, but all three Grubs do go down to San Diego.
Yeah, I respect the timing there. However, just didn't have enough vision as we see the Karma going down here for Weber State. Zilla may be sticking around a little bit more than he should. He doesn't quite have the mana or the health bar in comparison to UC San Diego to do very much there. As it looks like the Rakan and Caitlyn, they're going to even stop the Yunara back. So Yunara now just has a horrible back timing here. She does have to stay for this wave now, otherwise it would just be lost under turret. No threats of dive though, as the Karma is coming back, but UC San Diego going to be able to pull a little bit of a tempo advantage here.
Very strong showing from San Diego here, really trying to push this advantage as much as they can. Gloomgrove has been trying to find anything and just not quite getting the same impact he has been as with the Wukong. Unfortunately, the Stormbreaker going to turn tower off, and that is going to be a donated kill over to Gloomgrove. Really quick, really simple. Here is Dubair.
Yeah, Weber State opting to stay around, and then UC San Diego also stayed, so it allowed for that kill. However, it is responded as poor Zilla was trying to get his wave under turret so that he wouldn't have a poor lane state to come back to. But UC San Diego sticks around, and they have their junglers show up to get that kill. A good play from them to make sure that they're not losing too many resources, and a good counterplay really, as there are no other objectives on the map, so they push down that and they make sure that Weber State doesn't get any advantages from their lanes.
Yeah, it's Itsufushi and the Syndra battling it back and forth, sending some spells one way and the other way, doing what they can to be as annoying as possible, as Renekton actually has to pop the Dominus to survive Eros. Again, Eros understanding now he has to really play the distance game correctly. Still has to be very careful, as Renekton can get on really quickly, but with, yeah, I was going to say, a flash stun could mean life and death, but just not enough damage, even with the Ignite, to get through all the armor boots.
Yeah, Eros has as we see, Weber State's bot lane going in to fight. They do kill this Caitlyn. It looks like the Rakan will be able to escape. Zilla, not aware of the Xin Zhao being there, now unfortunately does go down, so it neutralizes the advantage that they would have had from killing this Caitlyn. It means a lot of minions are going to be lost here for Weber State's bot lane. It looks really positive from him, but maybe a little bit too aggressive of a flash with not knowing where that Xin Zhao is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it looks like in the mid lane, once again, Itsufushi does go down. Gloomgrove going to try to take away as much as he can here in the top side, doing what he may to counteract the fact that he knows Xin Zhao is taking things away, but Renekton now here to be annoying and stop him from doing what he wants. But gonna have to be careful here, Gloomgrove. Yes, you are funny bear man, will get a lot, but Syndra now on the way. Gloomgrove will probably have to Stormbreaker out or use his flash. There is the ultimate. Renekton unfortunately failing the dash over the wall will mean Gloomgrove will survive to fight another day.
Yeah, and we see UC San Diego coming down here to kill this dragon. The Weber State bot lane tried to pressure it, but at the end of the day, it just gives kills and a dragon over. The really unfortunate thing for Gloomgrove is he didn't even get the Gromp there. He got it down to about 80 HP, and then the Renekton Q did secure it. So really not a lot of great things happening here for Weber State, but UC San Diego able to take quite a good advantage here. Eros now fighting this Renekton. He does have the ulti from his Gnar, able to throw down a lot of damage. This kind of Gnar has an unusual trading pattern where he'll throw his ult out, even if a kill isn't guaranteed because of the short cooldown and the restrictions that are on it. But able to take some advantage in that lane. As we see now, Eros able to follow it up with the mini Gnar, and he will be able to kill this Renekton. A good play from Eros to make that up. But we do see this Yunara going down for the 4th time in this bot lane. Looks like Runglove will also pay a price for those sins, as unfortunately Weber State kind of losing a little bit of control in this game, but UC San Diego really having some plays to stick around as we see them diving in now on this Karma, able to secure a lot of gold here on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, a lot of this is going to come back down to, can Eros and Gloomgrove kind of pull this back, make some really big plays. Itsufushi will take some time to scale up, get some damaging items, and their ultimates will start to do quite a bit, but it's going to take a while. And you see there in that fight in the bot lane with Gloomgrove and Weber State's bot lane, just how squishy Volibear is when he does go this Dusk and Dawn build. We'll say it once, it's great, you know, you Q in and then you W and it double procs the on hit, so it's great because you get a really big chomp, but you're so squishy.
Yeah, it will be a little bit of a rough game for this Volibear. It'll take him a minute to scale up, as he does need to have more items to be able to really sustain a ton in these team fights. And it will be kind of rough in the team fights because there is a lot of crowd control and a lot of pressure that the opposing team can be able to put in. So I'm wondering if he's going to try and play more on side lanes and get picks. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Weber State with a little bit of a struggle here, as they are 4,000 gold coming in, 4,000 gold deficit coming into this mid lane. It looks like UC San Diego potentially trying to go for a play around this top lane. Little do they know that there is a jungler here in Gloomgrove, but it looks like Weber State committing as the 2 members of UC San Diego's bot lane show up. Rakan does get his charm down on both members, and that is a 2-for-0 trade. A good rotation and heads-up play from UC San Diego.
Yep, Weber State going to simply try to take what they can here, get as many plates, and unfortunately that is another kill onto Itsufushi in the bot lane, as the unleashed power from Syndra will go ahead and take him down.
Yeah, with this Luden's Echo, just really a lot of burst damage from the Syndra, and if Lux isn't spacing perfectly and spacing very far away, then Syndra has a lot of pressure to be able to get these kills and just kind of continue to forward her advance of a lead. That we see from a 4,000 gold lead just within a minute, UC San Diego now up by 7,000.
Yeah, Syndra 3-0, Caitlyn 5-2. The Xin Zhao is now 5-0, and now taking control of the Rift Herald. It was a point of contention last game, and they ended up losing a lot on it, but just going to go ahead and take it cleanly this game.
Yeah, kind of from compared to last game, like a lot of the blows that UC San Diego are throwing are very similar. Like they're taking a lot of what they were. It's just Weber State not really able to punch back. They just, I don't know if it's a champion diff or if there's some hands diffs going on here, but it seems like they haven't been able to keep the game as stable as it was in the last one, despite a lot of UC San Diego's pressure.
Things maybe calming down. We'll see here soon enough. Zillow and Stormblade here in the mid lane going to try and get as much damage onto this turret as they can, but they will see the Rakan waiting in the wings, and with arrows here as well, we'll be able to save that ward. But there's just a lot of vision from the side of San Diego around. Itsufushi playing a dangerous game here. Finally level 11, but it's 2 levels down on the Syndra.
Yeah, a 2-level deficit in the mid lane is quite important, as it looks like Syndra just able to walk up to this Lux again and just kill her. Not looking very good, as this Gnar once again still playing into the Renekton, able to keep the lane pushed, but due to the pressure from the rest of UC San Diego on the map, they are able to take a lot of these turrets. They take the mid lane outer, and they're able to summon this Rift Herald here for the tier 2, which should go down to him. At the same time, they have a Syndra in the bot lane here, pushing in. At Weber State dedicating 3 members to their top lane to try and pull some sort of an advantage, but they don't really get anything.
Not to mention, with Dragon just spawning, Zinza is able to back and go ahead and take that. Weber State was very far ahead in Dragon's last game, getting all of them, and now it's just a completely different game as the Dragons will be starting to go in San Diego's favor.
Yeah, we do see an objective bounty claimed on the top lane as the Gnar is fighting the Renekton. However, there is a 4v4 on this bottom side. This is the majority of UC San Diego's gold advantage, though, so it looks like they should be able to have an advantage here. They do get the charm onto Zilla and this Volibear, followed up by a lot of damage and crowd control from the Xin Zhao and the Caitlyn. However, Zilla able to get out with just 1 HP. A great job from Weber State to be able to survive and know that they shouldn't be dedicating to this fight when they don't have enough resources. Now, Gnar does kill the Renekton, so he will be able to get some platings here, be able to catch up just a tiny bit as far as the team gold advantage. Gnar does have an advantage here in the top lane, but it is looking pretty rough here.
I think what Weber State is trying to pull off is that if they can get Arrows far enough ahead that he can just simply side lane into Renekton constantly, they can try to manage a 4v4. Because if Renekton goes down, just 1v1, then someone else has to go deal with Gnar, and then it's a 3v4, and Weber can start winning those.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if they need to put the Syndra into the Gnar and see if they can relieve pressure that way, because I think the 4v4 from UC San Diego without a Syndra there should still be just as strong, and they should be able to like do the things that they still are doing, but they do need to figure out an answer to the Gnar that is not Renekton at this point in the game.
Yeah, Renekton not doing bad, just it's very much a matchup skill that it is so hard to play into, so frustrating. The extra movement you get as Gnar with the 3-hit passive is unbearable at times to deal with.
Yeah, especially when Gnar has this double Phage build in the Triforce and the Black Cleaver. He just has so much ability to run down a lane. The Syndra has the option to be able to slow and to be able to stun and keep him away. So I think it would be a good matchup, and she should have enough burst just to be able to deal with the Gnar in general. However, UC San Diego not opting to play into this. They're just still sending the Syndra into the Lux. Lux now showing that she does still have a lot of poke. If she can land her spells, she has a lot of options and damage here. That final spark, of course, on a super short cooldown thanks to the Malignance that she did pick up. I don't know if the Syndra is doing as much as a Renekton would be if he just spaced out and defended under turret while Syndra was able to get pressure somewhere else.
Yeah, and now because of it, Syndra going to have to back away from this turret, and it's Afushi just going to simply keep pushing, doing what he can, clearing waves, as there is a little bit of a vision battle going on here for the Baron. Eros in the top lane being annoying as he possibly can be, and just a lot of posturing here. Now it's Afushi in the bot lane I'm seeing. It looks like they had to flash away from a Syndra stun, but Syndra very low. If it looks like a final spark was used again. Just crazy the cooldown that spell gets.
Yeah, it's a great reason to play Lux, to be able to have a lot of that utility from the ultimate. As we see this fight here in the top lane, Gloomgrove trying to go in onto this Renekton, however, just not having enough damage. Gnar is managed to be able to get his ultimate off, and they are able to secure 2 kills back. That was a very close call to be being executed from the Caitlyn to when his Gnar actually went off. It looks like it won't actually be 2 kills. The Rakan does manage to escape thanks to some of his slipperiness that he does have built in. However, the battle not going so well for, I think either side was kind of expecting for more there.
Yeah, pretty good from Weber State to get what they could there, as Gloomgrove once again does fall very quickly. It is the biggest downside to this build is you need time to sustain. It's great in a 1v1, but team fights you will struggle.
Yeah, very true. We saw that gold graph, or at least the gold advantages here at the bottom of the screen. We see the Syndra at 2,000 gold ahead of her counterpart in that Lux. But we do see the Lux has the ability to poke and keep a distance, and then she can put down a lot of that pain. Gnar with the 1,300 gold advantage over the Renekton is a lot of the lead or the only lane that Weber State has with a lead, as we see UC San Diego up 6,000 gold in total. And they've been putting a lot of pressure on the map, and they do show that advantage here.
Eros actually needs to be really careful here as he is getting collapsed on. We'll go ahead and see this coming and be able to hop out. But with Syndra also trying to come down, it is a rough position for him to be in. He doesn't know they're in this bush and is going to walk into them. Will be taken down here very quickly as he does not have his Narbar as it just simply went down. And that is just a beautiful play made by San Diego.
Yeah, UC San Diego collapsing down on that Gnar does give a lot of pressure, and especially with Dragon coming up here in 2 seconds. Weber State trying to make something happen on this top side. I really think they should have gone for this Baron. They're opting not to. It looks like they're trying to go for the objective bounty in the Dragon, or I mean not in the Dragon, in the towers to try and make up for some of their gold deficit. As we see it, the dive in onto the Renekton, they do get the kill, and they do have the minions here, so they will be able to secure this Dragon. The bot lane from UC San Diego is here, but they are opting to not walk that path as there is a Volibear, a Lux, and a Karma there. I think that would have certainly spelled certain death. As that was quite the Caitlyn ult as it recurved around the recall of the Yunar and happens to hit the Karma there. We don't see that every day.
I was about to say, I'm like, can we check that man's computer? I didn't realize that Caitlyn could change her ult target when they backed. That was a very funny situation. I was very much confused there, but that definitely makes a lot more sense now as things calming down a little bit. Weaver doing what they can, and unfortunately for Eros, he almost gets the Syndra, but a pesky Xin Zhao showing up will make it so he does not finish off the kill. And I'm pretty sure at this point Eros is going, isn't Xin Zhao dead or something?
Yeah, this is really unfortunate here for Eros. But Weber State able to bring back a tiny bit of that gold lead that UC San Diego has. However, UC San Diego has this late game scaling Dragon. It is another Mountain Soul this game. So if they are able to secure that, it's going to be really tough for the members of Weber State to chew through these fairly tanky members of UC San Diego. So that'll be a big fight here coming up in 3 minutes. For now, it'll be either side trying to stabilize and make sure that they're getting the items they need for these upcoming fights.
Yeah. Luckily for Weber Itzafushi is starting to catch up in experience and some gold. Not as down as often seen. And the Lux is starting to come online. You can see them starting to do a lot of damage, able to clear waves pretty quickly when things hit. Even just a normal final spark hitting does quite a bit of damage, and it's probably up in 25 seconds.
Yeah, it's a fun build from the Lux here because the Horizon focus does give so much ability haste. As we see Gloomgrove getting caught out here by this Renekton. However, Gnar is here in his Mega form, so he does have the crowd control to be able to stop it. So you see San Diego just trying to secure some vision and pressure around the Baron, but Weber State does push for that mid lane tower as the Yunara is able to take it. Itzafushi kind of figuring out, I think, his pattern of play here. He just walks back, he throws the Luxol at the Syndra, chunks her down so much so that she's not able to get a full combo off. However, the Syndra does walk in and is able to stun the Lux. Lux playing a little bit too aggressive around the lack of vision in those bushes and pays the price for it.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that he got hit by the stun. It's just that Syndra's gotten to the point where that's enough damage.
Yeah, between the Shadow Flame and the Luden's Echo, any squishy targets on Weber State Esport need to be extremely cautious, which Weber State does have very many of them between the Karma, the Yunara, the Lux, even this Volibear at this point. There are a lot of available targets for her that she can really just one-shot. As we see the Rakan jumping in, he does get the charm onto the Volibear. Volibear ults out. However, Yunara is able to counter, almost takes down the Rakan, but this Gnar is caught in an awkward position. He gets the shove off onto the Caitlyn though, and the Yunara jumps in to try and finish it off. However, Caitlyn survives with 1 HP. San Diego able to secure 3 kills here, 4-0.
Yeah, just unfortunate timing for Weber. Not able to quite get enough. Will get the Caitlyn in the end, but the final spark not hitting. And once again, Syndra simply in the bush, and the damage they're able to punch out. Weber not understanding that Syndra is always going to be in a bush. They are channeling their inner faker and hide on bush.
Yeah, I didn't see that Caitlyn going down, but it's good for Weber State to at least get that shutdown. However, this Baron is going to be a very big thing for UC San Diego. We see it oftentimes that this first Baron isn't really the Baron that you end the game on. However, it will be able to pull some good advantages for them. We do also see that the Soul Point Dragon is spawning here in 40 seconds. And so UC San Diego will be able to use this Baron to pressure around the map and really set up for that.
Yunara is starting to come online, as she does have 3 items finished: the Infinity Edge, the Fiend Hunter Bolts, and the Kraken Slayer. So we'll be able to start punching some damage, but she's just so much less safe than Caitlyn, especially with a Rakan, a Xin Zhao, and a Syndra. It is so frustrating to try to play against that, as this Syndra is just doing so well. Gloomgrove getting caught out here once again. Does have his Flash and Stormbreaker, but gonna get CC'd really badly, as Xin Zhao will continue to go over the wall to get the final blow. And that is just basically a guaranteed Dragon Soul for San Diego.
Yeah, and it just shows kind of this utility that a lot of these like more organized teams play around with the Xin Zhao. He's able to jump back there, and because of his ult, he doesn't really pay any prices for it, as Weber State has a lot of range champions and a lot of range crouch control, so they weren't able to do anything to him there. And San Diego are able to secure this dragon. Weber State not having any pressures. One combo from Syndra just absolutely annihilates that Karma. However, Arrow's trying to show up here and really take down the Syndra. The final spark does come in and hit. However, Gnar not able to load enough damage. Lux luckily able to get her E onto the Syndra to secure that kill. That is a decent shutdown going over to the Lux, but at what cost?
Yeah, a lot of costs. Gloomgrove gonna continue to try to do something, but just the Volibear not being able to do much of anything. When he runs at you, you just simply run away. And Weber really just, at this point, it really does very much feel like a compositional team difference.
Yeah, when they play these sorts of team comps, they really need to stay even or go ahead in that early game. Really, the Yunara being the saving grace here for them. However, she is just so squishy. As you see, a single Caitlyn Q taking out a ton of her HP. It's kind of going to be a rough game. If Weber State's going to crawl back, it's going to be a very tough battle, especially with all of the resources that UC San Diego has on their side.
Things calming down here just a little bit, as backs are being had for San Diego. They're going to back by, get some more. Unfortunately for Gloomgrove, he does not any longer have a jungle. We've seen him multiple times going into his jungle and just getting absolutely murked. So he's just going to go ahead and take some lane farm, as Weber really just desperate to get more items on their carries, get to the point where they can actually fight. Eros, yes, is level 18. He is very strong, but I don't think strong enough, as just a couple of Caitlyn attacks. Zilla gonna go ahead and jump in. Yes, the Gnar does a lot, but unfortunately, melee Yunara is not what you want to be.
Yeah, the Caitlyn able to just throw down a ton of damage and really annihilate what Zilla has. As we see Syndra showing up into this fight, she hasn't used any of her resources. This Volibear is able to jump onto her. However, there's just enough crowd control and peel from this San Diego side that they're not able to get anything down onto the Syndra. Looks like this might be a game-winning push here from UC San Diego. There is a Lux up. She may be able to clear some of this wave. However, it is kind of spread out, and they do have 3 grubbies, so I don't know if she'll be able to quite get it all. Yeah, it looks like the incoming wave, a 1v5 here for her. I don't think it looks good.
Yeah, so well played to University of San Diego, as they will go ahead and take game 2 and bring this series 1-1.
Welcome back to Game 3 of Weber State Esports versus UC San Diego. We do see this is a best of 3 series. It is tied up 1-1. Both teams having dominant performances. Weber State taking Game 1 in a sweeping fashion, and then UC San Diego following up by their own sweep, a very convincing win there in Game 2.
Yeah, so we're going to be a little bit delayed here as getting into lobby, getting things set up, spectator delay, so it's not going to be quite as quick as we would like it to be. So I'm just going to ask a question to chat. What is a build that you hate every time you see it on a champion? I think you all know mine, but I want to know yours.
We just had a lengthy conversation about the viability of the attack speed Dusk and Dawn Volibear. However, we are going to head into draft here. Now, as a reminder, this is a Fearless series. We don't quite have both games of Fearless listed out here, but any champions that were present in either of the previous games will not be allowed to be picked, so they don't need to be banned. So we won't be seeing the Garen top. We won't be seeing a Syndra mid lane, a few of those staples.
As so far, the bans are pretty much the same as they were last game. We have Ashe, Swain.
Yeah, taking away some comfort picks from members of both sides for UC San Diego or Weber State Esports. UC San Diego opting to take away this Lucian as well from Weber State.
The Mundo, once again, going to get banned away as final ban for San Diego in the first phase. What will it be? Drum roll, please. As I'm thinking it's going to be the ribbon that we saw earlier. Get Eros off of that ribbon.
Now, we do have a kind of a spoiler alert. We don't have the names listed here, but Weber State did opt for a role swap. So the Riven ban and the Mbessa ban coming through, but Eros will not be playing top lane. He will be in the bottom lane. So I don't know who the Riven is exactly targeted at, but it may throw kind of a wrench into some of these bans, as the Weber State members do have a lot of flexibility in what champions they play. So we'll have to see what they pull out in result of these bans.
As you can see now, Aatrox is banned across the board. No. Actually, no, he's going to get picked first pick. So it's going to be really funny because you mentioned, where's the ribbon band going? But do you remember? I think everyone, it's a fever dream. Weird bot lanes are not uncommon. There was a meta where Garen Yumi was popular. There was a meta of Mordekaiser Leona. Weird bot lanes work. Thank heavens that they aren't as prevalent as they used to be. As is this going to be an Ornn top lane into Aatrox? Very much you're going to beat me up, but I'm going to be supporting my team so that we can just scale into oblivion.
Yeah, Ornn a solid pick into Aatrox. He's pretty safe. He has the tools to be able to get out, and he'll just tank a lot of the Aatrox damage. Will he have any kill pressure on the Aatrox? Probably not, but a lot of times that's okay. As we see Kiana being locked here for Weber State Esports. Now, again, we mentioned a lot of role swaps. Eros isn't the only one that swapped roles. A lot of the players have adjusted. So this Kiana, I wouldn't be surprised if it did go into a mid lane or into a jungle or, like we mentioned, a cheesy bot lane.
So I do believe that this is a Kiana jungle. She's just so much better in jungle than she is in the mid lane. But now this Rek'Sai and so Nami's obviously the support. But one thing I want to point out with this Aatrox Rek'Sai is that most of you are like, oh yeah, Aatrox top and Rek'Sai jungle. Well, funny enough, if they are modeling anything like they do in Korea, this is actually a Rek'Sai top and an Aatrox jungle. It's really weird. Aatrox actually does very good on minion damage, and Rek'Sai just builds full tank and then goes underground and never dies. As with the Mel coming out, actually very good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, this Mel pick is interesting. Mel was adjusted quite a bit on this last patch, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I know a lot of players were speaking that it wasn't very good. However, it is an adjustment, so sometimes it takes some time to settle. We do see an Orianna ban here from Weber State Esports. UC Davis following up with a Smolder ban, opting to pick or throw a lot of their bans here into this bottom lane, it appears.
It makes sense. There haven't been any picks, so you're going to be banning away bot laners that are really good. But you also have to think about it. San Diego hasn't picked their own ADC, so they have to be careful. They're probably going to pick theirs as quick as possible, but Weber going to have the first pick in the second round of things as Varus going to get banned away. We know it's tried and true everywhere that Weber plays it. Now, what does Weber go ahead and do here? The first pick, most likely going to be their ADC, and leave the jungler. No, the jungler's already been picked. I guess their support for last, or do they pick their ADC last? They will pick Nautilus and pick their ADC last.
Now, the Nautilus pick is interesting because there are a few options for UC San Diego to play into the Nautilus. They could just go for a poke support, or they could just play the classic Braum. Oh, they do have a Nami picked. JK. Here we are. Nautilus a good pick into the Nami because of how squishy she is, so Weaver State could be able to blow up the Nami if he does land a good hook. UC San Diego is going to respond with their own pick, which will be a Sylas in the mid lane, probably.
Yeah, that's definitely a mid lane Sylas. I don't see where else it would go. A lot of good ultimates for him to use and steal. So what it comes down to is ADCs as final pick. I don't think I've ever seen that. What a crazy, crazy draft we have as Zeri Nami. Okay, that's an old school, very old school combination. And by old school, I mean, it's only like 2 years old, but you know, crazy things. And what will Weber State go ahead and pick into this? They have their Nautilus, so they have their Engage. I'm thinking, oh, they could maybe, I was going to say Sivir, but Sivir was picked for game 1. So that's not going to happen. Maybe okay, Kaisa works too. A little bit of, they do have a lot of AP damage, so I'm a little bit worried because Kiana realistically is the only AD damage that they have. So Rek'Sai is going to be able to build a lot of magic resist and be okay, but I do like a lot of what Weber can pull out. If Mel hits a really nasty reflect on a Nami ultimate, game changing.
Yeah, and in the same result, Sylas has a lot of great options for ultimates he can steal. The Ornn ult, fabulous. Kiana's ult, fabulous. Nautilus is a great engage tool. Even just having 3 ults available is awesome. The Kaisa ult also provides a lot of ability to be able to jump onto someone or stick to some of these targets and gain a shield. As it looks like we're ready to go into the game here, as we will transition and see Weber State once again on this red side. UC San Diego on the blue side looking to launch in here.
So now we can see how Weber State has done their lanes. We have Skywalker, the support from first game, back, but now in the top lane on the Ornn. Gloom Grove has gone in the jungle still with the Kiana. It's a Fushi in the mid lane with... is this Winter Blessed Male? Yes, Winter Blessed Male Prestige, I think. Very fancy skin. We have Eros, our resident top laner, now playing the Kaisa with Zilla back on Nautilus.
Now we'll have to see how Weber State adjusts, as with flexibility in any teams, as Itsufushi goes in for the early ward to be able to spot out the jungler. However, the Sylas and the Nami do jump onto him. It does have to burn that flash, which is kind of a big deal because Mel doesn't have a lot of escapes from the Sylas, and Sylas has a lot of sticking power in this early game, as Weber State has a cheese bush set up in response, forcing out a Nami flash. However, Zilla's just going to flash and go for the hook as they're going to tower dive level 1. It doesn't look like they're able to hit that last bit of damage, but it does apply a lot of pressure here onto this UC San Diego bot lane.
Yeah, it was a flash and a heal from the Nami to get out there, as it is just crazy early aggression coming out. It's a Fushi in the mid lane, gonna have to play safe. Went W first, so it's not the worst thing. Most males will go a W max even after the rework. It's just very good. Basically what changed is that it is a much quicker projectile, and especially catching him under tower there. It's a Fushi possibly looking for a good cooldown. If that Q had hit, a flash auto easily would have killed the Sylas. But now another W into the male passive. It's a Fushi finally feeling some power as he gets the first kill on his laner for the first time this series.
And emote spanning on top of the Sylas as well. That root was so good, catching him under the turret, as we see Weber State getting the level 2 advantage, and they're really just pushing it into UC San Diego. Importantly, on the trades for this early game on Weber State side, neither bot lane was able to get the first 3 melees of experience, but then Weber State was able to zone the Zeri off from a lot of experience here. So they should have quite a level advantage. Zeri is catching up to level 2 now, but Weber State should be able to hold this advantage and keep it through. as both junglers are clearing to the bot lane. So if a gank does decide to come in from UC San Diego to help with recovery, it's not Weber State can just respond with their own Kiana.
In the top lane, it is a 1-for-1 as Ornn will miss out on a bit of minions here, but getting a 1-for-1 is not bad. He'll be able to teleport. And funny enough, I will always say this, in a 1-for-1 top lane, it actually usually favors the player with teleport.
Yeah, so we see Gloomgrove actually coming in with the stun here onto the Nami, able to pick up a kill. And the great news for Weber State is this lane is actually pushing into them, so they can set up a pretty nasty freeze here and siphon a ton of resources here away from UC San Diego. However, they are coming up to try and support on the Scuttle Crab, so it does let that wave, it still does catch in front of their tower, but Gloomgrove is quite low here as the Rek'Sai does flash in and knock up that Nautilus, so Nautilus will give his life for this. Not the best trade that they would be hoping for, however, it still should be favorable for the bot lane, even if the jungle is a little bit ahead from that.
And Skywalker here in the top lane, fighting back, using the Billow's Breath to deal a lot of damage onto this Aatrox. He's going to go ahead and collect this farm here. And I will go ahead and mention now that they did do your classic Aatrox top Rek'Sai jungle. Thank you, San Diego, for not doing the very cheesy tank Rek'Sai build. It is still a green egg Rek'Sai, so going more tank-y, but probably still going to be like a Stridebreaker, damage-y Rek'Sai lady monster.
Yeah, Rek'Sai honestly not seen in the jungle a ton, so it is an interesting choice. I think it's still better in the top lane at this point. But whatever UC San Diego, they decided that they thought it would be a good pick, and it did pay dividends as they were able to get that engage and get that kill onto the Nautilus here in that earlier engage.
Things going to calm down here a little bit. Gloomgrove going to go ahead and clear out a ward and still be just here threatening. He doesn't have his flash, but he is just a constant threat. We'll go ahead and continue to cross map, go to his camps. Gonna go ahead and get rid of a tunnel as the waves are just pushing back into Weber here. Pretty good position here for Eros. He's doing quite well. And Zilla actually holding the wave, so it will continue to push to him. Mel, it's a Fushi on Mel, feeling very confident. Also has 6 now, so a single W or Q hit onto this Sylas will equal a kill.
Yeah, he is trying to stay for this cannon, but he does have support from the Nami here. A good rotation here as Mel does reflect that W back. It's a Fushi attempting to escape here. They should be able to get out. The Rek'Sai does have some movement speed. Mel W is able to come down and support. However, they are chasing. They do have the heal and the Nami bubble. A good chase down and support from the support and the jungler to get that kill. However, knowing that the support is absent in the bot lane, Weber State opting to throw down some pain onto Payful. I'm honestly surprised the CS difference isn't a little bit bigger here for Weber State, as they have been able to hold Payful off from a lot of waves.
Yeah, just very painful and frustrating. Yes, the Nami does do quite well. Did actually have to burn the heal in that play to get Rek'Sai enough speed to get that second bubble to kill Itzafushi. But now Weber State going for another first dragon of the game. They really do like this, as Eros going to be seen with the Tremor Sense. Not going to get hit by the Nami bubble, and it is given away. The Weber knows they're here, knows they're going to try something. But will they be able to fight? Gloomgrove going to keep his Q with the improved damage. Itzafushi now having a little bit of a harder time, as the Sylas going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, but the return damage once Sylas has jumped in is insane. Will miss the stolen ultimate, the stolen supreme display of talent, which will go ahead and get him killed. Another kill going over to Itzafushi. Feeling very good this game.
Yeah, that was a good play for Gloomgrove to be there in the mid lane. At this dragon fight, we just saw that Weber State, the Kaisa has a really early level 6 here due to the supports being out of lane by quite a bit, and she's been able to soak a lot of XP. Them sussing out this Rek'Sai gank here in the bot lane does mean that the Rek'Sai has a little bit of wasted time. This Kiana might be able to go get this Scuttle Crab in the top lane. But Weber State having some pretty decent map movements in this game, able to hold down the fort here a little bit and not let UC San Diego take too much pressure like they have tried in the previous 2 games.
Yeah, the aggression being very good. A missed dredge line, unfortunately, from Zilla, but Eros going to go ahead and hit the Precy. No, that's Rek'Sai's Q. I can't remember what Kai'Sa's W is called.
Yeah, something missile, something I'm assuming. Gloomgrove here is trying to 1v1 this Rek'Sai. However, it's not turning out this Aatrox is not turning out horribly well. The Ornn is able to be there to clean up that kill. Now Rek'Sai does enter into the top lane. They are pinging him rapidly. He does hit his Q from the Barrowed form and the ultimate onto the Qiyana. That's a good kill and a pickup. However, Ornn might be able to just follow this up. He doesn't have a ton of damage. Rek'Sai does have the tunnel to escape as well. So a good trade from him to be able to be up there and to take that. And now he has pressure onto these grubs.
Yep, it's Ifushi playing a dangerous game with his mana here in the mid lane, but in the bot lane, we do see Eros and Zilla getting pushed in. Kind of not too surprising here. Zilla, though, very close to hitting level 6, and once that happens, can easily turn. It's Ifushi once again finding a good kill using the ultimate. Looks like a Q was hit with enough stacks that he was far enough away to pop the ultimate. And I will just say, it's crazy how every single game it's been Dragon for Grubs.
Yeah, Weaver State really not valuing the grubs very much. As Payful does jump in, knows his limits, and is able to take out that Nautilus. However, not expecting the Qiyana to be here. He does get 2 kills for, 2 kills and trades his own life for it. It's not a horrible trade as the waves are basically balanced, so he's not going to lose out on too much more XP, even though he is in a deficit.
Yeah, Skywalker here in the top lane, just doing what he can to survive more than anything. A lot of damage coming out from Gloomgrove. Going to get a tower plate, really getting accelerated, quite a lot of gold. Each jungler is 2 kills, but Gloomgrove finishing that item really quickly, very strong. The Rek'Sai does look like they are going to go ahead and go for the Titanic Hydra.
Yeah, Titanic Hydra, a great pick for the jungle Rek'Sai as it allows for the wave clear, or I mean not the wave clear, but the minion clear to be pretty quick. So we see Rek'Sai jumping in here, does flash for a knockup on Itsufushi. Itsufushi does have the support from Zilla though, and lands all of the Mel spells. However, the Silas does pop the Mel ulti and is able to get that execute. Zilla will unfortunately go down. Honestly, a really close fight. If Itsufushi, however, just did not have their ultimate up, otherwise they would have been able to execute the Silas before they pulled their own ult off.
Yeah, unfortunately, the stolen Nautilus ult chasing down Itsufushi. And Nautilus ult, you know, it's a lot of damage when you're building AP. So it means quite a bit. Gloomgrove going to see if he can't maybe find something. Going to just simply pick up the farm here as pings coming down on for Eros. Some danger very much happening. Looking like there's going to be a dive. The Nami bubble going in. A really good flash. Will unfortunately get caught, but doing wonders to try to get out. Zilla unfortunately looks like they might be getting caught here. Gloomgrove going to come in, try to find something. Still has a supreme display of talent. Will go ahead and hit 2 with it, but getting hit by a lot of damage. Silas not going to quite go down. The Rek'Sai doing so much work as the Mel ult will come down to finish off. Gonna go ahead and get 2 kills there as Weber State will lose 3-4-3.
Yeah, interesting tower dive here from San Diego. They just kind of overstayed their welcome. They did have quite a big advantage with their 4v2. However, Weber State did rally and they were able to make it not as bad of a loss as Skywalker is continuing to fight the Aatrox. That'll be kind of the trading pattern. You see he's built 2 big armor items and will just kind of tank a few hits and survive and keep farming his wave as best he can.
Ornn is one of my favorite champions to play because it's like, oh great, you know, I lost lane, but I'm still doing okay, and then all of a sudden my team is 5,000 gold up in items because, you know, ornaments.
Ornaments indeed. We see Zilla here trying to help Eros get a kill onto the Silas. However, they just don't have enough damage. The Rek'Sai does show up. However, the Qiyana here to respond, they have enough damage for that Rek'Sai, as Rek'Sai actually went for a Stride Breaker and not Titanic Hydra, so he's not quite as tanky as he might have been, but he is opting for more of that utility with the slow.
Yeah, Skywalker doing the best he can to try to farm up and do things, as Mel damage actually starting to come through really quickly, as that is an early Luden's finished.
Yeah, Luden's Echo on Mel is very good for the poke. It's maybe not quite as strong of an item and like sustained fights as maybe a Blackfire Torch or some of those, but being able to poke off these squishy members of UC San Diego is very nice, as we do see the Aatrox does pop his ult and take out this Ornn. Ornn is having quite a struggle here as The Nautilus secures the dragon. Thank goodness for Nautilus. Maybe a little bit of a miss smite from Weber State there.
A missed E, a double E from Silas will mean that Itsufushi is safe for now. Zilla gonna have to flash out. A beautiful supreme display of talent from Gloomgrove will stop the engage from San Diego as Aatrox in the top lane just saying, I don't like everything and I don't like this tower.
Yeah, Aatrox probably going to be able to get this first blood tower here as he does have a large minion wave and he has a lot of time to hit. Weber State maybe staying a little bit too long in that area, trying to not give up some pressure or vision, but it does result in the loss of a lot of their health bars. So they just don't have enough pressure to, well, stay around and support their mid laner. As Eros is trying to fight here with Gloomgrove to take down this area, which they are successful in doing, so they might actually be able to put up a good contest for racing for this first blood tower as Skywalker is able to protect his own.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that the Silas has not been able to touch the mid lane tower, so it is under no threat as Itsufushi going to come up in 7 seconds here. Yes, the Grub's doing a lot of work, but 5 tower plates is hard, but unfortunately Skywalker here in a lot of danger as he is going to get dove here. Gonna go ahead and call in the Ornhorn, but just doesn't matter when you're getting knocked up and CC'd consistently.
Yeah, a good layering of CC here from UC San Diego. They are able to take that Ornn down. They're able to prevent him from getting his ultimate off, which really probably would have just cleared the wave and made it harder to take the tower. But because of that, they are able to actually secure first blood towers. Weber State didn't really push for that bottom lane.
Nami, though, could be in a little bit of trouble here as Gloomgrove does have the root. Will not find it, though Zeri might be in some trouble. Eros finding a lot of these Kaisa Ws. It's very surprising because it's actually a very hard spell to hit as another beautiful supreme display of talent going to go ahead and really finish off this fight as Eros will go in with the ultimate. Unfortunately, though, the timing coming in not doing great as a stolen Kiana ult going to be used by Silas to cause disruption. The Aatrox teleporting in is a lot, and Eros doing what he can to run away, knows that Silas is there, going to do what he can, going to run here into the tower to get executed instead of giving any gold over to the side of San Diego.
Yeah, the execute probably a good call considering that the Silas and the Rek'Sai have a lot more mobility options than Kaisa does with just her E. There's a great response from San Diego to come down and support their team. They make the trades a lot more even. Weber State is able to maintain and protect some of these towers here, as now San Diego State will start this Rift Herald thanks to the pressure they had from the Kaisa execute.
All right, things gonna go back to normal-ish here. Zilla maybe looking to do a little bit of hooking. Not going to find anything quite yet. Going to just clear some wards here. Skywalker going to start getting his ornaments here soon. Once he finishes his Sunfire Cape, it will immediately upgrade. And then, sorry, that's at level 13, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's still just a little bit short of it as we do have a great engage here from Zilla onto this Silas here in the mid lane. However, Silas was so much sustained, but it doesn't matter as the Mel does get the execute. UC San Diego perhaps not throwing enough resources onto Itsufushi, but it doesn't matter as the Rek'Sai is able to jump in and use that Stride Breaker to slow her down and get that kill.
Ornn gonna go ahead and get the Ornhorn off to survive this Aatrox once again, but Weber State in very much not a great position as this tower's gonna go down. A lot of damage as it's actually a aggressive use of the Rift Herald. Unfortunately, the first tower does not go down in time, so Rift Herald not gonna do what it's meant to do.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay there. It would have been better to, I mean, obviously now we see it better to charge the Rift Herald into the tier 1 and then into the tier 2, and they would have gotten both crashes off. However, the team just not able to provide enough damage on the tier 1 for that charge timing to hit. I was almost expecting him just to charge onto the Kaisa and see if he could get a kill under tower. Maybe would have been a little bit difficult, but UC San Diego, again, securing another outer turret, so they are up 3 outer turrets, 2-0 from Weber State. We see that represented in our gold difference as UC San Diego is up 3,500 gold over Weber State Esports. At this time, most of that gold difference is showing in the Aatrox in the top lane as he is up 8,300 gold to the 4,700 in the Ornn. Our jungles are about even. The mid lane Mel does have a pretty substantial, almost 2,000 gold lead. But on the flip side, in the AD carry role, Zeri does have a a 1,300 gold advantage over this Kai'Sa. It's about boots advantage, but you could consider it a VF sword as well, as Weber State showing up to contest this dragon, as they are able to get the kill onto the Rek'Sai, and this Kai'Sa is onto the back line of the Nami. However, she has a Sylas on her, so it's not looking great, as Azeri and Aatrox do show up, and they wipe Weber State Esports in a 4-for-2 trade, leaving this dragon for them to take.
Yep, a very powerful fight going in under over Dragon, and Weber just not quite getting what they want. Mel not getting the execute off is devastating. Would have finished off the Zeri and the Sylas.
Yeah, that's quite the unfortunate series for the Mel. Just mistimed probably by just a second or so. It was a really good teleport there too from the Sylas to be able to jump onto that back lane and really make sure the Kai'Sa couldn't just free hit forever. So a good series of events here from UC San Diego, as we saw that the Zeri after that fight is actually up now almost a full item gold advantage from the Kai'Sa. I believe she was 2,400 gold up. That is pretty serious when it comes to what these next fights will be. Unfortunately for UC San Diego, there isn't any objectives to take, so there may be some time for the Kai'Sa to get to her second items before the next fight, and then the Zeri will have 2 items and some components, which isn't the hugest deal when it comes down to having the completed full items and that power it brings.
I will say though, Ornn is starting to, he has his level 13 now, so now every single level he will start giving his teammates 1,000 gold worth of stats, as a fight in the mid lane going to break out, as this Sylas going to get jumped on. Will still the Kai'Sa ult to try to survive. We'll go ahead and use it aggressively for the shield. Pretty good actually from Weber, as they didn't use any of their ultimates themselves and forced out the Sylas ult.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the Sylas ult more aggressively there. He ulted like as far away from the Kai'Sa as he could have without having any crowd control, but I think he totally had the space there to ult into her face and be able to take that kill. Oh, the Kiana just barely missing a recalling Sylas here. That would have been a great play, especially to set up pressure for this Baron, which is spawning here in 20 seconds.
Weber State, 4-man strong here in the top lane, as Ornn is going to start coming down. Will be caught by an Aatrox and will get his dash interrupted. Just a lot of damage going down onto him, as it is frustrating. Now that Aatrox has 2 items, a Black Cleaver and a Spear Sojourn, means Aatrox does a lot of damage. Ornn's going to take a while before he gets tanky enough to really deal with that.
Yeah, and his job here is basically just to try and soak waves and stay alive. I would like to see if he could jump into a team fight here and be able to get a really good Ornhorn off onto multiple people of this UC Davis team. It should be able to stop a lot of their engage, because they do have a lot of go forward buttons, and I think it would make a pretty big impact here.
Things slowing down a little bit. The next big objective fight probably going to be over this next dragon, as I thought it was a mountain dragon, but no, this is going to be a chem soul. Would have been crazy if it was 3 mountain souls in a row. Just our little display displaying it correctly, as Gloomgrove might be finding a Nami. Unfortunately, the tower still being there means there's not much they can do. Skywalker staying here as long as he can, doing what he can to be annoying, frustrating, and get as much damage down as he can, as uses the Ornhorn aggressively, knowing that his team is coming up. A little bit of a visual bug there, but so well layered damage, as Weber State going to donate the kill over to Gloomgrove. A huge shutdown. Now, Itsufushi knows that no one else was responding, is going to play a little bit safe, as there was a Sylas in the bush trying to play his best faker.
Yeah, this would have been a great opportunity for UC San Diego to try and collapse down on Itsufushi. It's kind of hard sometimes to know those heads-up plays where they were pushed into Weber State's side of the map on the top side. However, all of the other lanes were pushed out, so Weber State really pushing advantage there and taking that. As they are trying to dive in here on this mid lane, they do have a great Nami ult to be able to catch out both the Mel and the Kai'Sa, taking both of the carries from Weber State down. Now, this should look like a Baron take here from UC San Diego, as they just have a man advantage.
Yeah, I will say very well played by the Nami to bait the Mel Reflect with the Q, and as she saw it comes out, buffers her ultimate to go off even though she's getting hit by her own bubble.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, Mel's been doing a great job of reflecting some of those as Gloomgrove does go back in to try and fight here. The Nautilus ult is used on the Silas, however, he's able to just dash over the wall back to safety. This is a 5v3. I don't think Weber State really wants this fight as they don't have the most damage. The Supreme Display of Talent does catch several members, but Silas responds back. And this the Zeri is able to just get the kill here. Mel is going to try and come in and apply some pressure. She could potentially get an execute on the Baron, but it's not good enough to outsmite what Rek'Sai has. She does get a nice pick on the Zeri, though. That's a good shutdown going on over to this Mel. As Arrows does show up, and he wants to dive in 1v3 into a Silas, Rek'Sai, and Nami. I don't think that is, again, a fight that he wants to take. Weber State just throwing resources to try and prevent members of UC San Diego, from escaping with this Baron. But 4 members still walk away with it on.
Yeah, you can see instantly San Diego is starting to ping the dragon. They want to start stacking, getting as much as they can. And they're probably going to be able to. Gloomgrove and Weber trying to rush as quickly as possible as well down to this. But dragon is spawned, and UC Davis is there. Sorry, you've gotten me saying it now. UC San Diego is there first, starting it up quickly.
Yeah, being able to secure this dragon and be on parity with the number of dragons taken will be a good deal for UC San Diego. They do want to avoid Weber State from getting the soul. It's not a great soul. It's not the strongest one in the game. However, it is still good to avoid that pressure that Weber State could have from having it available. So just a good take. They have the pressure from Arrows being over-aggressive. Oh, that is the power of, well, I guess Zeri doesn't even have any of the new items. She just has a lot of burst here from the Nami. As they are chasing down Gloomgrove, however, Zilla is here to try and support. They aren't able to focus that damage onto Painful. Painful is just kind of running away with this game as the Zeri is currently 11-4 and 11. She has a lot of gold and a lot of damage available to go with it.
Yeah, and I would say, we're just waiting on some more ornaments to come in, but it's just not enough. As Isafushi going to walk into a very strong Aatrox and going to pay with his life. Skywalker doing what he can to try to stop this from going through. It's still a very tanky Rek'Sai with everything said, and I'm sorry, 4-man, you're not going to survive that. You have mostly armor, and even then you're getting shredded as the Baron really coming in powerful here as they're looking to possibly end here with the remaining of this Baron. Gloomgrove going to see what he can do here. The Edge of Night going to get used up here. Zilla going to throw out a hook, but not going to really find anything. Going back in is the Silas and Rek'Sai. Finds Gloomgrove. Painful doing what they can to deal out as much damage as possible as Aatrox in the top lane is going to take another tower and continue this onslaught of pressure.
Yeah, it's kind of this first Baron doesn't have enough pressure to really deal with the death timers, as the death timers are still really short at this stage of the game. But as being shown currently, UC San Diego able to take a lot of pressures. They're able to take 2 inhibitors and most of Weber State's towers. Now, this is kind of a point when Weber State might be able to recover. They have basically 3 minutes where there's no objectives up. They have lanes pushing into them thanks to the super minions, so their goal here should be to try and survive and to farm and to try and get a few of these key items. When we see a Dusk and Dawn on the Kai'Sa, it will be a huge breakpoint for her. As we see, the Nami does go down thanks to the Supreme Display of Talent. However, the Aatrox is going to flash in and make Kiana pay for overstepping, as the Kai'Sa also will go down. Now, this should be the ending push for UC San Diego, as they do have 4 members of their team up versus 2 members of Weber State, as those members do go down now, as the UC San Diego having a good showing here, able to push their gold lead and take advantage of Weber State overstepping just a little bit and end the game.
Yeah, and all I'm going to say here is after that, Aatrox gets a quadra kill is report Payful for taking the pentakill.
Report Payful indeed. Thank you for joining us this week on another Weber State League of Legends broadcast. If you would like to see more League of Legends, join us on Thursday night for a follow-up game of one of our JV teams, as well as next Saturday we should have a varsity game at 4 o'clock.
Yes, and for those of you who can't wait for more League of Legends, we will be having Rocket League on Wednesdays. Thank you so much, and see you then.